So I happened to read a thing, TED Talks, looking at TED Talks, talking about how do you define yourself? I don't figure how you would define America. For me, America is a warlike country. This is a country that delights in war and destruction. You can't change it. You can't better it. I think that it seeps into our culture. Like, I used to like to watch Outer Limits, and I spoke about how that show never really took off. Well, the show at the time, I realized, was speaking about past society can go as far as a world of diminishing returns, as far as climate change, as far as the use of mercenaries to accomplish goals, things like that. And sadly, we're living in the outer limits. Like that show, that's America today. Everything about it. Everything about it. You can just about every episode, not every episode, a lot of the episodes have relevance to our modern day. And that's bad. That's bad. That's bad because that show was meant to be a cautionary tale. Like this one that was this new president. He was a dove. He wasn't a warhawk. He let his generals get him, twisted around to wind up attacking these aliens. And the story was kind of about how they made fun of him in a way for being a dove. That being a warhawk is normal. That being a warhawk in America, that's just what America is. Like, yeah, that's pretty relevant. You could show that to people later, be like, yeah, that makes sense. That's bad, that show. A lot of the episodes, I like to believe the moral of the story is to be more peaceful, is to be more humble, be more thoughtful of the world around you, and to maybe not be so quick to use violence in a lot of it. That's what I like to believe, at least. That's what I like to believe, at least. And I think that you can't change America. I mean, King tried it. What happened to him? JFK and his brother Robert, they tried it. What happened to them? These are warmongers. These are bloodshedders. These are liars. That's what they are. They delight in the shedding of innocent blood. That's why we've been in Iraq for as long as we learned. That is. These are bloodshedders, man. And that's why, like, when I talk about this stuff, and I'm like, man, nobody's gonna learn anything about this. That's why. There's no benefit. Like, when I say to you guys, no one's gonna learn from COVID, they're not. One day we're gonna have a vaccine, or it's gonna diminish enough to where it'll be like the flu, and every year we'll just have a different strain of it. That's what's gonna happen. And people will forget. People will forget. America is divided, There's people that believe in science, and there's folks that don't. And that's all there is to it. That's why when they talk about Lincoln Republicans, I wouldn't have contributed. Even if I had $1 billion, I wouldn't have put $1 into this shit. Because Lincoln Republicans is all about making the Republican Party look legitimate. Where were you crackers when we went into Iraq? Where were you crackers when we started doing torture? Where were you with extraordinary rendition? We went into sovereign nations and kidnapped people. Where were you? Okay, so maybe you guys aren't racists. Whoop-de-doo. Maybe you don't like Trump. You think Trump went too far. Whoop-de-doo. You are the reason why, as well as George Bush, you are the reason why we have a Trump. You, Sarah Palin, folks like that. Yeah. I don't like this bullshit that, George Bush is the president, then he gave it over to Trump, who gave us over to Obama, who's going to lead us to a socialist paradise, and then this monster rules up called Donald Trump. I don't like this shit. I don't like it. You know, you gotta be serious about these kind of things. You gotta understand what leads us to a Donald Trump presidency. You gotta understand what leads us to this stuff. And I don't like this stuff either about something happened. I'm seeing a bunch of ambulances go the other way. Good. I don't like this stuff about you know, Obama's like the press, like their friend. And, nah, man, these are your buddies. I don't like that. Look, thinking Republicans, once again, is to make Republicans look legitimate, to smooth them out, to soften them up. And they had no impact on Republicans. Because if you don't like Trump at this point, for whatever reason, you just don't like him. Like if you're on the if you're an old school conservative and you don't like how he talked about Ted Cruz's wife and stuff and John McCain, then you already don't like him. You don't need me to remind you of that. If you're a racist bigot that hates gays, thinks blacks should be in their place, and hates Mexicans, thinks they're all criminals, you probably like Trump. I don't need to explain this to you. And Lincoln Republicans don't either. I wouldn't have supported them. They got some good commercials, but that did nothing for us. You know, that's optics. That's small victories. Oh, I found a couple Republicans that aren't racist. Oh, I found a couple Republicans that aren't racist. Look at this. Whoop-de-doo. Okay, I mean, what kind of strange world is it that you have to like go out here and basically be like, well, I am a Republican, but I am not a racist. Like that's how far right they've gone. Basically, that's how far right they are. So I just you can't change America. It's not possible. That's why they tell you, they be like, when you mention Europe or something, they'll be like, well, you should move to Europe. Yeah, because there's no intention in making America better. There isn't. You know what that stuff is? That stuff is about racism and homophobia and xenophobia and being able to make dumb comments about women in the workplace and people that don't speak English very well. That's what Trumpism on the surface was all about. It was about cruelty and repression and a type of political violence and a type of violent political language. That's what Trumpism was about. There's nothing more to it, nothing less to it. Most folks know that. It was political violence. Nothing more, nothing less. That's why that Power woman came out talking about, I'm going to blow up Georgia and Rudy Giuliani said, we're going to go out here on the field of battle. What kind of dumb motherfucker do you have to be to not understand that they whip these crackers up to commit violence? I mean, you have to be exceptionally stupid for someone to explain to you that they've been doing this for almost 4 months. Really, no, it's been almost 4 years now. That the election's fraudulent, that all this stuff's fraudulent, anything that doesn't help Republicans is fraudulent. Come on, man. It wasn't just one moment, 1 second, one word or two. This is 4 years of this shit. 5 years, actually. So, I just, you can't change America. You can't fix it. You can't better it. I mean, I'm like Michael Brooks, you know, that as things become more horrific, as things become more horrific in America, people will have to come to our side. And that's where I'm at. I'm no longer trying to reason with rednecks, none of that shit. But they like this. I realize now that, like, it's like that survivalist boards I've talked about. those guys aren't getting food and stuff to prepare for disaster to come. They got the guns and all that because they want to be warlords. See, the way these rednecks look at society is this. They know society's crumbling all around them. They don't want to fix things. They want to use their resources to go and do damage. See, these white folks, they think the only way at this point to win the demographic shift and otherwise is through violence and death. That's why back when COVID first started, y'all these white folks were talking about how they hope the pandemic would kill a bunch of folks in California. That's what they were saying. They take the state back. I remember that shit. So no, I don't feel bad for Texas. Ain't nobody, I'm not holding no tears. I remember hearing this shit. They hoped a lot of folks would die in California and take the state back. Yep. This is how they think. This is where the right is today. This is where the right has been in the Trump era. They want death. They want destruction. And they feel that only through death and destruction can they take back the country. Yeah. These guns and all that, that's for political violence. I didn't realize that, like survivalist boards, all that's white supremacist stuff. That ain't about learning how to, make a good campfire and operation security and guns. That stuff is about white men seeing they're losing their country and feeling that the only way to take it back is through catastrophe. They understand climate change is a problem. They may not refer to it in that way. They say things are going to get colder. It's irrelevant. That's what I'm trying to make. The point is, it's irrelevant. You don't have to agree. You don't have to agree with me on the way climate change is going to hit. What I'm saying is we're going to have weather crises. They're going to affect different areas in very profound ways. And these areas are not prepared for it. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying I think we're too late for climate change. I think you're going to have a lot of much wetter, shorter winters. I've been hearing from other people as well. Certain areas that, oh man, my wife used to be able to do this all year, but now she can't because, yeah. Be talking to folks, they tell you stuff like that. Just little things. Yeah. I remember I read from this guy. This guy said before COVID was over with, we would get universal health care. That did not happen. But what it tells you is these rednecks know that the only way to mitigate a pandemic, a long-term major pandemic, would be to have universal health care. They know that. It's like Trump talking about the masks and stuff. If everybody don't wear masks, at the same time they won't take the vaccine, and the vaccine gonna make them gay or something, then the pandemic's gonna get out of control. See, look, man. This is what adults think. Okay, it's how adult people think. Certain things are implied. If you drink alcohol and you don't limit your drinking, you're gonna get yourself in trouble. I mean, like, you don't drink before you go to work, you don't drink, if you don't do certain things, you get yourself in trouble. Not wearing masks, not committing to a vaccine plan, which Trump didn't do, pulling out of the WHO, like, that ensured COVID would get worse. And the fact, going back to it, the fact that guy on that page was talking about universal health care, single payer, whatever, and that he knew the only way to handle a pandemic, that lets you know these rednecks, they don't want a real functioning government. They know that the way that they think, the good old boy system, that only works if society's running as the way it's supposed to run. If society's not running properly, that old redneck shit don't work. That old redneck shit grandpa used to do, that don't work. In fact, it's dangerous because it puts you behind. It does. It puts you behind. We've had 4 years of this good old boy government. What has it gotten us? Worse wildfires. COVID's out of control. Pulling out of WHO. Attacking international criminal court. I mean, this is not stuff a democracy does. But the fact that Trump did it, it further affirms my point. They don't even want America to be better. You can't change America. You can't fix America. You can't do it. They will kill you first. I've said it before. I would never do what Snowden and Julian Assange did. I respect them for what they did. I would never do it because America is not worth it. I've always said that. America is not worth it. It's not worth losing your freedom. It's not worth your family being targeted. America is not worth it. You don't believe me? I tell you what. Go back and look at the stuff Snowden told you in that documentary. Tell me if we ain't living in that world right now. I spoke to you earlier about the Outer Limits and how the Outer Limits was kind of like, you know, the 90s show. That it was kind of like laying out the way things were going to get in America. That basically we're living in the Outer Limits right now, and how that's bad because that was supposed to be a dark future, and how we're living in that era. Okay, same thing with Snowden. Snowden told you you would get Keystone turnkey tyranny. It's been a while since I saw it. Turnkey tyranny. He told you get a president that would abuse the national security state for their own objectives. Ain't that what Trump did? The bird's my call. So, you know, so you can't change America. You can't fix America. You can't fix this country. And they'll kill you if you try. I mean, think about it. Someone actually sent white powder to Dr. Fauci's house. You don't talk about this stuff. When they're like, oh, January 6th wasn't that bad, and the pandemic, you know. People don't realize, like, this shit, it's worse. They put bombs in RNC and DNC. They tried to kidnap the governor of Michigan and Maryland and all that. Yeah, this shit was worse. This shit was much worse. We just don't talk about it. We don't talk. Who knows what other kind of death threats these folks have got they didn't talk about? Yeah. We just don't talk about this stuff. What happened, you know, anyway. Thank you for listening.